Hi everyone, we're Group 5 and today we're presenting over Item 10, Directors of the GameStop 10K. As you can see here is a screenshot of the 10K statement. It really just points to their online website where they show the code of ethics for both senior financial and regular executive officers. Everything in there is pretty straightforward, standard, so really the most bulk of the interesting stuff is in the proxy statement. So a proxy statement is required by the SEC for public companies to be filed before annual shareholder meetings and provide information for the shareholder vote. This one's for the June 19, 2021 annual meeting, and the key business items being addressed are the election of new board members, executive compensation, and then the ratification of the audit committees. So for the election of directors, this traces back to January 10th, 2021, when GameStop and RC Ventures reached an alignment agreement. Part of this agreement included an immediate expansion of the board of directors to allow for 3 members of RC Ventures to join the board members. And then that expired in annual shareholder meetings where they would then vote to restructure the board of directors. That include 4 original board members stepping down and the election of 6 new board members.
So the board of director nominations are as follows. An interesting thing to observe is that half of the nominees are former Chewy executives. Of the 13 previous existing board members, 9 are retiring, and therefore 4 of the nominees are incumbents, while 2 are these new potential directors. So is this GameStop or Chewy 2.0? It's important to note Ryan Cohen is the manager of RC Ventures and a sizable stockholder of GameStop. Back in January, when RC Ventures and GameStop agreed to board of director changes, it was also noted that those 9 incumbents declined to run for re-election, giving Chewy half of those board positions. Under the GameStop charter, if a shareholder owns 3% or more of the common stock of GameStop and they've held this for over the last 3 years, then they're allowed to nominate 2 directors of their choosing for board positions. Because Ryan Cohen is a sizable stockholder in GameStop, he clearly pushed his way into his own board seat and then forced in 2 former executive colleagues from Chewy. It's also important to note Cohen owns a 12% stake in GameStop currently, and previously his wishes were granted by the board as long as Cohen does not surpass 20% total share of GameStop.
The board of directors currently has 4 standing committees, and you can see in this table here, it lays out of the nominees which committees they are a part of, and the exponent of 3 indicates that they are the chair of that committee. So going through the committees, first the audit committee, the chair is Jim Grube, and this committee really oversees the integrity of financial reporting and controls, as well as the internal audit and public accounting functions. The compensation committee, whose chair is Alan Attal, annually reviews and approves the executive compensation plan for all of the executives and directors. The nominating and corporate governance committee, whose chair is also Alan Attal, reviews the composition of the board and its committees, so anything to do with the composition of the board of directors, new nominees, etc., goes through this committee. The strategic planning and capital allocation committee, whose chair is Ryan Cohen, this committee evaluates the operational objectives, expense structure, and corporate strategy of the firm. So if we look at director compensation, this table lays out how the directors were compensated over the fiscal year 2020. So previously, for non-employee directors, they would get an annual cash retainer of $140,000 plus an annual restricted stock award valued at $140,000. The new structure is that they will receive a restricted stock unit award equal to $200,000 divided by the average closing price of common stock for 30 days preceding the annual meeting. And one interesting thing to point out here is that Ryan Cohen declined to receive any compensation for his service as a non-employee director, as you can see in this table as well.
The corporate governance section of the proxy shows the company's structure of rules, practices, processes to direct and manage the company. Some of the main topics on GameStop's corporate governance section include board leadership structure, codes of ethics, equity ownership policies, anti-hedging policies, risk oversight, and a few others. The topics that are particularly interesting for GameStop are the equity ownership policy and the anti-hedging policy. For equity ownership, GameStop requires a CEO to own 5 times their base salary in stock, the COO or executive VP to own 3 times their salary in stock, and non-employee directors to own at least $275,000 in stock. This requirement is used to help align executive officers and non-employee directors' interests with those of the stakeholders. The anti-hedging policy is similar to the equity ownership in the sense that these leaders are not allowed to hedge against their equity with shorts or calls, for example, meaning there is no fail-safe or fallback plan except for working hard to produce positive results for both GameStop as well as their stake invested. Both of these policies are put in place to incentivize leaders, but also give shareholders confidence and transparency with the leaders that are directly impacting their investment.